Two best teams in the league. Don't get no better than this.
I can't help but wonder, how do you feel about going into another seventh game, this time on somebody else's floor?
Still to be happy about. Job's not finished. Job finished? I don't think so.
We're going to come back and we're going to have this reunion party. And when we shake hands, let's make sure our rings touch.
Alcohol, right?
So first we're going to take a look at this offense with Tyrese Haliburton on the floor. Just the spacing and the way this Oklahoma City Thunder defense reacts with him there. Check out Chet, the way he kind of backs off Miles Turner. And Tyrese, sometimes he surprises guys with his passing, who he finds open. And just look at the spacing, as we're going to eventually compare with him off the floor. But I'm not going to lie, Tyrese was hot really early on. And let's not forget, with the Thunder going small with that speedy defensive lineup, the offensive rebounding for the Pacers was huge throughout this series. And that's when Tyrese would get off a lot of wide open threes. I mean, OKC throughout this whole series, they have tweaked the lineup a little bit. Game 1, they went away from the double big lineup and put Case and Wallace in there, just to go back to the double big lineup by the time it hit Game 5. And keep in mind, in between that time frame from Game 5 to Game 7, they still tweaked the lineup a little bit by going with a smaller lineup in the start of the third quarters, from time to time depending on the game flow. So they always kept a keen eye on Miles Turner just dominating that paint. That was a glaring issue in the previous year versus the Dallas Mavericks. Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively were eating them up in the paint. Now, another dynamic that would have played out with Tyrese being in the lineup is the transition points. You see, most of the time, Pascal, he would get down there real early and apply a lot of pressure on the smaller OKC players, posting them up. And Tyrese, in a way, he added a sort of 1-2 punch while trailing. This is another dynamic that kept the Oklahoma City Thunder defenders on their heels while in transition. Here's a prime example. Check out Pascal. Gets a mismatch on Wiggins. And you see defenders are hesitant to stunt in because Tyrese is out here. So you see they're kind of stretched. So as Pascal takes advantage of that mismatch, now they have to double. And if he wants, there's another option out here. So it's just a few spacing advantages that they weren't able to utilize with Tyrese going out. And this was very unfortunate. Tyrese kind of knew as soon as he hit the ground. Look at him banging on the floor. Who knows how this could have really turned out. He was hot early on with a quick 9 points. His teammates was kind of utilizing that spacing that he was creating, getting easier shots. And in today's NBA, there's a very thin line between competing for a championship and actually rebuilding due to the way the new CBA is constructed. And this was definitely a heartbreaking blow because getting back to the finals is never a guarantee, no matter how good a team is or what kind of superstar they have. Getting to the promised land is never, ever a guarantee. And it's usually a bad assumption that sometimes the NBA media at large makes about a certain team. But in this parity era that we're entering in, that may no longer even be the case on their end. And again, before we seen this injury, this series could have went either way. Both teams fighting tooth and nail, trying to gain every inch, and at the same time, they mirrored each other. We seen it play out as soon as Tyrese left the game. The first quarter ended real close, and the Pacers were able to maintain themselves in that second quarter. We got to give kudos to that bench unit, because all series long, they've been fairly consistent. In game 1, they outscored OKC 39-28. In games 3, 49-18. In games 4, 36-27. In game 6, 48-37. And even in game 7, in a loss, 42-30. So there were multiple losses by the Pacers throughout this series in which their bench unit still provided way more points than the Oklahoma City Thunder's bench. So now with Tyrese Haliburton being out, what really held the Pacers up in that first half was a combination of the tough shot making of Pascal Siakam and TJ McConnell, along with their defense, especially at the point of attack. This is a perfect example right here. OKC love to try to close out these quarters strong, but check out Nembhard and Pascal right here. Nembhard with the perfect jump, and Pascal with a nice help. Even when their offense wasn't going great off this Ben Shepherd steal, check out the transition defense though. Guys got back quick and just held it down. Both teams have done a great job throughout this series, but right now for the Pacers with no Tyrese out there and their offense not necessarily being perfect at the moment, they're going to have to be on their P's and Q's at every other aspect of the game. And with that said, this is where Pascal kind of comes into play here, as Miles Turner throughout this whole series, especially on these high pick and rolls, they have always burned him. He's trying to make the read, trying to see which way SGA is going to go, if he's going to reject the screen and go downhill, or just trying to contain him when he's coming down. Turner sometimes meets him at the line and kind of hedges him and forces him to make this wide turn. But for the most part, he's been getting burned. But check out Pascal right here, as he's going to kind of make up for it. So in a way, he had to be everywhere. Even on the offensive end, he had to completely create for himself and dominate his mismatches. And that's a lot to ask for normally from a non-creator, as you're going to see him try to fight for possession right here in a game 7, where he's exerting a lot of energy on the offensive end as well as the defensive end. And the Oklahoma City Thunder smaller players, they actually make you work for it, as he's trying to gain position. Case and Wallace, Caruso, and even Aaron Wiggins. Aaron Wiggins be fighting these guys off. So that's what the Thunder smaller players are known for. They're small and speedy, and even SGA. It's really rare for a team to have a superstar also exude a lot of defensive energy on that end of the floor. So Pascal is really going to have to work for it and create on his own, as right here, with normally the spacing that Tyrese Haliburton creates out here doesn't cause the collapse to be as severe. So this is what Pascal was facing in this game 7. There was always a way for the Pacers to maintain themselves in this game. The only thing is that the window was just so narrow. Miles Turner would have to dominate in the paint and also provide a lot of second chance points. And at the same time, he would have to knock down his wide open threes to space out that floor. But with things being so tight, we started to see small inklings here and there at the end of the second quarter that things were about to melt down for the Pacers offensively. Here's a prime example of the last two concepts we just talked about. Look at Miles Turner trying to gain position on SGA. He's not letting him get away with that. And at the same time, as things begin to constrict, you're going to see TJ McConnell handle the ball a lot more. And is he quick enough at a high volume to keep touching the paint and make the reads fast enough? A guy's going to be wide open before the speedy and smaller Oklahoma City defenders come in and do what they do with the deflections. Again, to close out the second quarter, we've seen small inklings of the Pacers offense about to stagnate. And TJ McConnell has been a hero for the Pacers. Make no mistake about that throughout this series. A much needed energy boost coming off the bench. And uncharacteristically, the hard-nosed vet had 7 turnovers in this game. And being the main ball handler for an offense that really thrives off the spacing that Tyrese Haliburton creates, just not having him there was a lot of pressure for him and Nembhard. This really played out perfect for OKC's defense, because this is what they do. They can now go small and not have to worry about the Pacers offense shooting lights out. So their players now could take more chances with getting steals, deflections, and even chase down blocks. I mean, just looking at the way things played out, the Pacers went on a 13-minute stretch in between the third and fourth quarter in which TJ McConnell was the only scorer.